Good day to all the conference delegates and wonderful presenters. Welcome to the 29th Malta International Conference. I am Reshman Audia, son of K. Kavichelvin, from International Languages Teacher Training Institute, or mainly known as IPA, would like to present my ideas and findings on the research that I have conducted. My research is entitled The Use of Shape Poems in Improving Year 5 Pupils' Writing Skills. A few months back, or almost a year ago, I attended Practicum Phase 2 at Sekolah Kebangsaan Taman Dato' Haruntu. There, I was assigned to teach Year 5 pupils. A week of teaching made me to realize that the common issue faced by the Year 5 pupils there was on their writing skill. The first problem was sentence construction. Most of them had poor vocabulary knowledge. In this case, they were not able to find the right word to fit into every sentence that they construct. I noticed that most of them had good and brilliant ideas, but all of those ideas were made up of their mother tongue, which was Malay language. In this case, they directly translated every ideas into the sentence that they construct. The second problem was on their punctuation, whereby they always misplace punctuations. For instance, they misplace comma with full stop and misplace exclamation mark with question mark. When I started this research, I set two objectives. The first one was to identify the extent to which the use of shape poems can improve Year 5 pupils' writing skills. And the second one was to examine the strengths and weaknesses of the shape poems in teaching writing skills for Year 5 pupils. I also set a few research questions. The first one, how do shape poems improve Year 5 pupils' writing skills? Next, what are the strengths of using shape poems? And finally, what are the weaknesses of using shape poems? Once I figured out that my Year 5 pupils had been facing issues with their writing, I went on to gather more evidences on this problem. And so, I found out that Peck and Me in 2015 stated that writing has always been a major difficulty faced by learners in English language learning. Aziz in 2018 reported that there was an increase in the percentage of passes in the English comprehension paper, which was from 82.6% in 2016 to 85.6% in 2017. It is really a great news, but there was a decrease in the English writing paper, which was from 77% in 2016 to 73.6% in 2017. This explains that a lot of Malaysian English language learners had been facing issues with their writing. And so, I decided to come up with a solution. Basie and Kevin Lute in 2015 stated that shape poem requires an understanding of the visual aspect of it. It is achieved through the cooperation of concrete elements and techniques. So I decided that shape poems should be a great solution to overcome the issues of writing among Year 5 pupils. For my research, I decided to use the spiral model proposed by Chemis and McTaggart. The first step is to plan, whereby I planned by understanding the problem of pupils, which was writing skills. The second step is action, whereby I used traditional poems in solving pupils' writing problems. Next, I observed and noticed the outcomes of the use of poems on the pupils. And lastly, I made reflection by evaluating the outcomes of the poems in order to make adjustment to the strategy. All these steps were repeated in Cycle 2, but by replacing the traditional poems with the use of shape poems. Throughout my research, I used 3 different instruments, which were pre-intervention test and post-intervention test, observation, and interview. This slide explains the findings that I have obtained using the pre-intervention test and post-intervention test. As we can see, we can compare both cycles, whereby the participants' pre-intervention test results during cycle 2 is almost similar to the results obtained for pre-intervention test during cycle 1. This explains that pupils were not able to get the idea through the use of traditional poems. The post-intervention test results obtained after cycle 2 shows the level of improvement attained, which shows that shape poems were able to help people with their writing skills. This slide explains on the findings that I have obtained through the observation I have made towards the participants during Cycle 1 and Cycle 2. In Cycle 2, all the participants gave response to the stimulus given, which was the shape poems, compared to Cycle 1, where participants did not respond that much. In Cycle 2, participants participated actively throughout the lesson. Also in Cycle 2, most of the participants' facial expression showed that they liked the application of shape poems. They also paid attention to the lesson, and none of them did any other activities during the intervention. But half of the participants in Cycle 1 did other activities, which showed that they were not attracted that much to the traditional poems. Next, I would like to explain on the findings that I obtained through the interview that I conducted towards the participants. Before carrying out Cycle 1 and Cycle 2, I decided to interview the participants on their background and the problem statement. Through the interview on their background, I got to know that most of the participants were from rural areas. As for their first language, all of them stated that their first language were Malay language. Their second language were English language, and they also admitted that they seldom speak English at home and school and seldom read English language books. When I asked them on why they don't speak English language often at home and school, most of them stated that they were unable to understand the language, and some stated that they lacked in proficiency and they were used to their mother tongue. All of them agreed that they do not like writing in English language due to its difficulty. They were less exposed to English language vocabulary, and I also asked them on their preference to learn English language, and half of them stated that they preferred to learn English language through the use of gadgets. Some stated that they prefer any interesting activities, and one stated that he or she preferred to learn English language through singing or maybe music. As for the interview that I conducted after Cycle 2, the participants gave good and positive responses. All of them liked designing shape poems because they enjoyed the infusion of arts. The infusion of arts here means that they enjoyed drawing and coloring during the activity. However, they disliked the time constraint during the activity. When I asked them whether they think that shape poems could help improve their writing skills, they said yes, because they were able to relate to the main idea and they found it very fun. I also questioned them whether they would like to design shape poems again, and they said yes. As a conclusion, my research on the use of shape poems in improving Year 5 pupils' writing skills was a success. I was also able to improve a lot of skills such as creativity, resourcefulness, flexibility, and critical thinking, which I think will help me as a future teacher. I wish to suggest a few recommendations to the future researcher who would like to conduct research similar to this research that I have conducted. The first one is on the time constraint, whereby participants should be given more time to design their shape poems. Second is for the future researcher to work on digitalized worksheets, as it is able to increase people's motivation and encourage individual learning, which is very important. And the last one is to add more questions, because more questions will help to assess people's understanding on various writing skills. These are the list of references that I have included throughout my presentation. Before I end, I would like to thank the Malaysian English Language Teaching Association, or better known as MALTA, for giving me a wonderful opportunity to present my ideas on the research that I have conducted. I really hope that my ideas and findings will contribute to the growth of the English language education. I am Rishman Aurea, son of K. Kavichelvan. Thank you.